Hi guys, my name is Meredith and I am located on Vancouver Island, which is in BC. And I had been talking to Jesse a bit about what you guys have going on in your program. It looks really cool, you guys. I'm so excited for you and to see the results of what you're going to get from your program with Jesse. I talked with Jesse specifically about branding. It's something I am deeply passionate about, and I seem to have a natural knack for it. However, I also have dug into a lot of books and taken courses and whatnot on branding to help me to create a strong brand story for myself. In 2016, I sold a business. In my former life, before I became a PMU artist, I was a furniture maker, a woodworker specifically, and worked in film as a sculptor, and I also had a gallery. And specifically the gallery, I built it up into a business and then sold it in 2016. And a big reason of why the buyers were interested in my business was the branding behind it. They thought it was just very well established and they liked what I had done and they wanted to run with that. So branding is a really great way to communicate who you are and what your business is. So yeah, I wanted to share some thoughts about branding and give you guys some structure so that you can use those tools to brand your own business. So this is not too formal, so bear with me as I read through some of my notes. But let's just talk a bit about what branding is to start, okay? So at its core, branding is the perception that your customers or audience has of the business, okay? And these are created from all sorts of cues. It's the visuals that you put out, so your logo, the imagery you use, the quality of images you use, how you present yourself. It's the ad copy on your website. It's the wording you use on your social media posts. It's how you communicate to your audience. So are you just strictly on Instagram, or do you have several platforms? So your branding is how the customer interprets your business, okay? You are a public entity, so people are going to make judgments about you and your brand or your business. So why not influence what they're going to think by being strategic and putting energy into creating intentional brand story so that you can really design what it is you want people to say about you and your business, okay? So they're already going to create these ideas and judgments about you. So branding, effective branding, is when you can influence what people are thinking about you, okay? And that's a really important thing to remember, that specifically people are going to make these judgments anyways about you. In some ways, to really simplify it, you could think everybody has their own personal brand in a way. Obviously, a person that's not involved in business and whatnot, or an influencer or something like that, might not think of it that way, but we often will make stories up about somebody we've met based on some bits of information, especially if they're consistent information. So if somebody has a certain behavior, we'll often come up with the idea that the person is X, Y, and Z just based on this repeated behavior that they keep delivering naturally. So everyone does this. It's a completely innocent approach that we take to understanding and positioning ourselves with other humans. So think about that, because that's something to consider when you're creating your brand and why it's important to be intentional with your messaging, okay? The heart of a brand is essentially the vibe. So not to sound all woo-woo, but it's the feeling or the essence, okay? So in a personal brand, the vibe is what people expect of you based on what you've put out there. I am talking primarily today about personal branding, although there's not a huge difference between personal branding and large businesses or corporation branding. Primarily the main difference is a personal brand. There's already a persona that's been created. That's you. That's your core person who enters the world every day and what you put out there. A business brand especially at like the startup stage, doesn't have a persona yet. So they have to create the persona, and that will be in tandem as they create that persona, in tandem with thinking about what it is their audience is going to want from that person, okay? Or persona, I should say. I'm going to get a bit more into that. But today I'm talking primarily around personal branding. When you think about where you want to be in the future, whether or not the brand, your business is all about you, great, totally take it all from a personal brand. Or head in the direction of a personal brand. However, if you want to franchise someday or sell your business, or you think you're going to take on a staff, you might want to think through a bit about what you're putting out there now as a personal brand if you think you're going to evolve into something a little more formal later down the road, because what might be really authentic and easy for you to access and create for your personal brand might be quite challenging for other people on your team down the road to recreate. So just think a bit about that, about what your goals are with your business, to know how you want to direct your branding now. Okay, so let's talk a bit about personality and persona, what I was just talking about. The persona already exists. So, to marry a successful brand with your audience, you have to come at it in a few ways. You want to fully understand who you are and what comes naturally to you. An authentic brand will always shine louder than something that's forced. For example, I'm known for creating soft, natural eyebrows. I have a bit of a vintage flair to me. I don't wear a lot of makeup. I'm kind of quirky. So for me to create an authentic brand, I need to imbue it with those kind of qualities. It would look awfully contrived if I tried to present myself and my brand something like Brow Daddy style, because I'm not that person. I am not super polished, and my work doesn't look like that. So that really stands out, because there will be people who will do that really well. And then if I try to force myself to look like that because I think it's trendy or cool or what people want, it's going to take a lot more energy to push that brand story successfully onto my audience than it would be to just approach it with what is authentically me. Okay, so whatever you find is sort of like your unique qualities that match, or something that you would want your target audience to see your brand as, that would be a really great starting point. We're going to talk more about that. Okay, so you're going to pull from yourself, your personality, what fits with your audience and what they want. Okay, so I already have a very good understanding of who my target audience is. I based and created that persona or avatar, client avatar. I'm not sure if Jesse's talked about these things yet when you create your client avatar, but when you create your client avatar, which is a fictitious person, it's usually your ideal client. You think about what traits within you that come really naturally, but also would align with that avatar. That's how you kind of merge them together. So you know how to pick out which personality traits you should really highlight and put a shining light on. And again, these are going to be the things that come most naturally to you. Okay, so this is, I can actually talk a bit about a personal choice I had to make recently on this exact topic. I'm considering something that's natural for me, but is it actually the right fit for my audience? So I have established this brand of being joyful. And I'm also extremely important to me that when people come in, they're not self-deprecating. So they talk positively about themselves. And, you know, I always try to steer conversations into really like heartfelt and powerful conversations that a person can feel like they can shine and be proud of who they are. Okay. I also do it from a playful way, a playful approach, and joy. So even though it can be quite a serious topic, especially if we're talking about bad things about ourselves, that can be kind of serious, but that's not how I flow and work best. I save that for my besties. But in a professional sense, I like to approach it through humor and playfulness, but also assertive. So where I'm going with this is that I recently started, pulling some photos from my past to plug into my branding story on, say, Instagram. So these would be like personal snapshots of me that I can inject into my Instagram feed so that people can get these micro doses of me, little, my dog and stuff like this, okay? So I'm pulling some images, and I have a bunch of images from some photo shoots that I've done with my motorcycle. And these are your classic, like stereotypical sexy girl images, posing half naked on your motorbike, tossing hair and all of that stuff, right? Lots of makeup. So on one side of me, I want to post these pictures because I'm like, damn, I look hot. And I kind of want to I know if I post this picture, I'm going to get a certain kind of response back from my audience, right? And they're going to be like, whoa, those look hot and stuff like that. And that would feel really good. But when I actually look at the grand scheme of what my brand's about, when I talk about body positive images and playfulness and approaching who we are from a playful and happy kind of place, there's not a lot of room for your stereotypical sexy girl pictures. And so I had to shelve those pictures. It's not the right place. Even though I would love to put them up, it's just not the right place. And I know I would get good feedback from my audience, but again, it just doesn't quite match. It's not that same playful place. I have lots of other pictures where I'm just living life and I look good and I can just post those. And so I satisfy that need to want to show myself in a certain way, but I'm doing it from a place that's more authentic with my brand and what I want my audience to feel, which is how we don't have to take our beauty so seriously. We can have some fun with it. So I feel like that's a bit more of a aligned approach to my own branding story. So I'm going to omit those other photos. Okay, so self-editing your work, editing the work you put out, but also editing what you put out and how much you want your audience to know about you is so essential. And the more that you know about your brand, the easier that decision process will be for you. Okay, so here are some steps on how you can start to figure out a bit about your branding. So we want to talk about targeting, positioning, and messaging. Okay, so targeting is to find your target audience. Okay, I'm sure you've probably done that already with Jessie. Define your unique position in the market. So this is what makes you specifically different from your competitors, what makes you specifically different from other people around you, okay? The tip here is really embrace your uniqueness and what comes naturally to you. People are attracted to authenticity. So again, back to if I tried to present myself as like a brow daddy artist, it would be very awkward and be very obvious that that was forced. So instead, I'm just really jumping into what I do best, which is I'm kind of quirky and I like to play with vintage fashion, stuff like that. So that's what makes me different, okay? I have a lot of clients that come in here that say they came in just because of the name of my business, which is the Flamingo Room. And when they looked at other artists, they felt like the other artists looked all the same logo. It was their name. It was certain kind of type of script, certain kind of color palette. And they said that I just stood out just simply because of my brand colors and how I presented it. So that can be a way that you are unique as well, is your brand story. That does take a bit of time to develop, but you can get a good clear picture of what you want that to look like, and you can pretty much start right away with that. And you'd be surprised how short it is. If you're consistent, how quick people will pick up on that. So this is really key too, to talk about, again, editing, but also being really mindful of what you put out there, because that's going to be what you become known for. All right. So whatever you're putting out, that's what people are going to know you for. So think about what it is you want to be known for. I, for example, like to be known for providing a lot of information. So I have PDF books, I have like info tips. My consultations are like 30 minutes and they're very detailed. I always have people telling me again down the road, you made me feel really safe. You went above and beyond providing content and quality information than anybody else that they had interviewed as a possible artist. I get that feedback all the time. And that is maybe a bit of extra work, but that is what I want to be known for. I want to be known for the person who's going to give you everything you need to know to make a good educated decision before walking in here and sitting down and me tattooing your face, okay? So that's important to me, and I've really focused on that in my brand, and I get told back from the community, which is a really great way to know if you've actually nailed your branding, is when people are coming back to you and telling you what it is you wanted them to think or feel about your brand. So when people come in to me, they're always telling me that I provided a lot of good information that made them feel safe and knowledgeable. And I am also told a lot that I'm interesting or fun, or they feel this space is fun, things like that. That's like, those are all things that I wanted them to feel. So this is great. This means that I'm doing my branding right. So that's really great. When people come back and give you information about what they've experienced from your brand, or the process of like booking with you, for example, was it easy, was it hard, or I was confused about this that you told me, those are all really important to listen to, because it's feedback on how you communicated your business, which is your branding. What language did you use? What kind of system do you have? There's this really great woman, Sally Hogshead, I think it is. Anyways, Brand Fascination, that's the book and the website you can look up, Brand Fascination. She actually has a questionnaire online where you can fill it out, and it will tell you what your branding language is or persona. So for me, I'm passion and information, okay? Surprise, surprise. That is, I would have known that about myself, but it was great that that affirmed it. You can take that test and you can find out what your branding language is, and she'll even give you some adjectives and things that you can use in your branding copy that will help to really install that image and concept for your clients. So let's say for example, your branding language might be mystery. That would be the last one for me. I'm like an open book. You know everything about me. It's all out there on social media. Okay, mystery would be terrible. So like those whole like, ooh, something, big's happening, I'm gonna do a countdown. That's terrible. It's a bad idea for me as a strategy on how to launch a new service. I'm much better at just showing up with my like balloons and dance routine and just bringing people along for the ride, because that's more authentic. But you might be mystery. So you then could really harness that, because people love mystery. And if it's done well, they're going to jump into that. They're like, ooh, what's she going to do next? I can't wait to see. And it's like you're just kind of pulling them along in a seductive way. Okay, so that Brand Fascination would be a really fun and educational form for you to fill out, so you can get a good idea of maybe what your branding language is, and you could use that to help you when you're creating your brand story. Okay, I digress. So target, defining your unique position in the market, we talked about that already. Define how you message your unique position to your audience. So these are things that I already talked about. How do you talk? What do you reveal or what don't you reveal? Do you share information about your family? Do you post pictures of, the day at the pumpkin patch, or is that really private and a no-go? So be really clear about what your brand is. Are you really open, or are you a little bit more private? Detail that stuff out, because that will help you have a compass so that when you're going down the road, you know what to share. Especially if you bring a team on, then that branding communication can stay consistent, okay? So what if you don't know these things about you? It's a lot to kind of know about yourself, and especially if you're new or just starting your business, you might not have that feedback from clients yet. think about what it is that people specifically come to you for that they don't go to other people for. So this can even, if you haven't been in business for very long, this can even be things that you can look at within your relationships with people. Like, what are people banging the doors down to get from you that they don't get from anybody else? Okay, that's a really good clue on what you do naturally that's going to make you stand out and differentiate you from other people. Okay, so I guess the moral there is just start where you're at, define who you are today, define where you're at today, and then do it again every quarter, and watch yourself like develop and grow in your business, and you'll be amazed at what you learn about yourself, and you can build your brand that way. In fact, the more you learn about yourself, the stronger your brand story is going to be, for sure. And the last thing that we talked about was positioning. So this is what makes you different than your competitors. All the work that we just did, the defining, that's going to help you to understand how you're different. But you also need to do a little bit of research on your competitors to understand how they position themselves and what they consider as being different. This way you know if you're on the right track and whether or not what you think is going to make you look different actually will, because it might be what that person does down the street. There's this girl who is a competitor not too far from me. Her work is really awesome. We have a kind of a similar style, but where we really differ is she's younger than me, like by a lot, like 20 years, I think. I'm in my 40s. And she definitely has more of that younger person's edge. So she does the cool like Instagram reels, and she knows how to make like brow laminations look like, how people expect them to look on Instagram, and does all the highlighter stuff. I don't do any of that stuff. It's just not really like what I focus on or know how to really do effortlessly, but she does. She's super cute, and she can connect with people on that way, and it's super authentic for her. If I try to do that stuff, it would look kind of silly and it would look awkward. I think I just did my first like Instagram reel 2 weeks ago, and I was actually messaging her like, how do I get music on here? So it comes really naturally for her, and she does it really well, and that's a really big differentiator between us, because if you looked at just our images, our work actually is quite similar. So it will help people to find the artist that suits them best by simply looking at our Instagram feeds. They're going to see different color palettes, different ways of communicating, and they're going to find the person that they feel like they want to work with. Okay, so this is a really great segue to talk about quality of work. When you're looking at your competitors and whatnot, if you're thinking, oh, my work's way better than theirs, that makes me different, do not put all your eggs in that basket. Price point and quality of work are not strong differentiators, okay? Because that person can take some courses, that person can change their pricing strategy. Those are things to not base your difference on. You want to focus on the things that are uniquely you, that are going to be really hard to reproduce, okay? All right, so now you've established what you want your brand to be about. Let's talk a bit about how you can successfully do that and share. So again, we talked about being authentic. Authenticity is a really popular word right now, but it is for a reason. And that's because we had a long run where there was sort of inauthentic content being put out on social media, and then everybody's like, I'm just going to be real with you guys today and tell you the kind of shitty day I've had. So all right, that's a bit of a cliche now. However, the point is that we got to a breaking point. We got tired of seeing the perfect this, perfect that. Now we want to actually see people and what they're dealing with in their lives. I'm not suggesting you do that with your brand, but you can still take the message to heart, which is people want to work with people who are authentic. So again, I can't really stress that enough. When you're thinking about your brand, you have to find the qualities that are super authentic for you, and don't try to match yourself to follow a trend. Trends will pass. Just define who you are and your brand based on what comes easily and authentically. Okay, so let's talk about how you do that successfully in a brand. So there's micro and macro branding, okay? Micro is the little moments you share that help your audience know who you are. These are insights into things like your personal life, your mindset, I don't know what that side note is. Okay, so these are the personal things. So for example, when I got a puppy, I did a little mini cute photo shoot with my puppy, and posted those because I wanted to talk about that, and that was exciting. That would be considered micro branding. It's a little tiny sliver of who I am and who you're going to be working with and who you're going to meet when you walk in the door, okay? So other things that I love, motorcycling, I love food, all that stuff. At some point, I'm going to drop those things randomly into my Instagram feed. Some people are much more strategic. They have it on, timers, that kind of thing. I'm not super strategic, but it works for me. People walk in the door, I get told this all the time. I feel like I already know you because I've been following you on Instagram. That's it. That's what I want. I want people to feel like they know me when they come in. So those little micro branding bits are going to help complete your brand story. Now, you might be somebody who doesn't want anything personal out there. That's fine too, but you still have to do micro branding. And that could be in the form of like information or tips, and just have really clear branding language. So make sure that way you communicate it is really consistent with who you are. So for example, it would be really unauthentic for me to be like, oh, those brows are fire. It's like, I don't really even know what that means. I'm 43, like that's over my head. So I don't say stuff like that because that's not authentic to me, okay? Probably would use the word rad, which is like super outdated, but that's me. Okay. Macro is the overarching thing that you are known for, okay? Macro is your brand story from a distance. It's what you are known for, okay? I'm known for creating natural looking eyebrows, not just PMU, just creating natural looking eyebrows, because people don't really think PMU, they think those eyebrows look natural and I want them. So that's what I'm known for. And you're going to want to lean into that. Whatever you want to be known for, lean into it. And that's it really, guys. So that was kind of long. I hope it's been helpful and awesome. I look forward to seeing what you guys create. If you feel like checking out my brand story, you can go to flamingo_room_brow bar. I'm in Parksville, and have a look through my Instagram feed and see how I create my brand story. I use very strategic color palettes. I use a specific font. I really only rotate through 3 different fonts. I use Canva to track that stuff. So I have my color palette on Canva. So every time I'm creating a graphic, I can just easily click on one of my 5 colors that I use in my branding. And I've got 3 dominants, and then I've got 2 non-dominant colors. You'll see these colors repeated on all my social feeds, all of my posts, on my website, in all of my emails. So there's continuity everywhere with my fonts, with my colors, with how I use my logo. So find a way to track all that stuff so that you can have continuity, and don't undervalue that. I have people who, sometimes clients, I haven't even met them yet. They're just maybe on the books for 2 months or something down the road. They'll send me things on Instagram, like a picture of a flamingo, and they're like, oh, I saw this flamingo and I thought of you. I've had clients' moms gift me things that have never even met me, like a flamingo cup. That's branding, that's continuity, that's a successful brand story. It's a lot of fun. And it's way easier to do once you have an idea of what you want your message to be, and to kind of come up with a couple of key things like your branding story concept, which is the visuals, your language, and your messaging. And just go from there. Have fun, guys.